Hi guys. So I wouldn't be walking around much since considering I'm a blogger and I am known to being behind my phone and my computer. I'm going to be standing behind the podium. So before I move on, I have actually two questions to ask from all of you. From this audience, could you, with the raise of hands, tell me how many of y'all use Instagram? Okay, almost all of you. And how many of you think that Instagram as an application could actually you could make money out of this application, that you could actually reach the audience, the target audience, and create so much of content and basically, I don't know, be a celebrity? How many of you think that? Okay. So see, only a few of you. And for those who aren't on Instagram yet, I'd suggest you start, getting on Instagram and start following me. How do I change the slides? Right. So we know that, well, I told you that Instagram, you can actually make money. Well, here are the stats from the world. So from 5,000 influencers, around 42% said you could charge from $200 to $400 per post. And if you have about 100,000 followers, there's a possibility of making $5,000 per post if you are partnered with a big company or a brand. And I'm talking brands such as, I don't know, jewelry, watches, something of that sort. And recently, they found that if you have 1,000 followers, it's approximately, you could make about $10 with an engaged community. So how do you do this? I mean, we all have Instagram here. We all have the app. We all take pictures. We all eat. We all do the same things we do. But how do you exactly engage with the audience? How do you do it? So first of all, there's no secret ingredient. It doesn't work like the Puff Girl recipe. There's nothing, wait, how does it go? Sugar, spice, and all things nice. There's nothing of that sort here. You actually have to build your audience by yourself. You're supposed to work accordingly and approach the people in the way that you feel happy about yourself. So one thing about Sri Lanka I've noticed is that there's a lot of people who have a lot of blogs and a lot of people who have some great products and services they would like to offer to the people. But unfortunately, we don't know about it or we haven't heard about it, especially the blogs. And the only way that we can actually approach this to know about the blogs is you could start advertising yourself, what you do, through your social media platforms. And that being said, Instagram. So for example, if you are working on a fashion blog, you went to one of the greatest fashion shows, you post something on Instagram and then you link it to your blog. Or if you think you have a great product or service that you really want to reach the market. For instance, you started a great clothing line for teenagers. You decide to post an advertisement on the Sunday paper. How many 16-year-olds to 19-year-olds actually read the Sunday paper's advertising pages? Possibly very less, right? So, and I really don't think it'll be really cool to purchase something off the newspaper. So if you do have, since we're all on Instagram, constantly going through the feed, liking things and, making orders and stuff. So it's really cool to use Instagram as a platform to grab that audience. Okay, so hashtags. Now, you could post the most brilliant picture ever. You might have taken I don't know, possibly an award-winning photograph. You post it and you get 30 to 40 likes and you're wondering, I could do better. And then you wonder the person with, I don't know, maybe 100 hashtags has about 100 likes. So how does that work? So Instagram is actually connected through hashtags. If you put a hashtag on Instagram, you will find out millions of posts under that hashtag. So people tend to, if they really want to find out something, for example, food, hashtag food, you'll find food from around the world. Hashtag Sri Lanka, you find posts from Sri Lanka. So that's how it works. And in order to make sure that you get the maximum out of your hashtags, The best number is 11. Not more than that. You don't really want to seem annoying. And obviously your hashtags need to be something that's relevant to the picture. If it's food, you use hashtags that run around food. You don't mention anything about fashion or issues that run around in your life. No one needs to know that. Right. And then I obviously don't mean this in the literal way, but people like to be inspired when they get on Instagram. They want to be, whenever they get on it, because you're bored or you want to be inspired. So it's time you do something. You post these really nice quotes that's relatable to you and that could actually inspire the audience. And when people see good things, not something very positive on their feed, they tend to they wish to see it more, because I'm pretty sure most of you guys here follow pages on Facebook and Instagram that are actually inspirational, those millionaire quotes and everything, because that actually inspires you to do something indirectly and unconsciously. So the whole point of Instagram is showing yourself through pictures. And simply showing everything you do is what we're actually looking for. So something about lifestyle. So assume your Instagram is really, really lit, and you went for a kiddie's birthday party, which is not so lit. You could definitely post that, to show the audience that you are just like everyone else, that you're not some celebrity that actually wakes up with, I don't know, fake lashes and walks with heels all the time. You actually get dirty and, you play around, you have fun. So put that up on your Instagram, and people would actually like that. Right, so obviously, I really don't think any of us could give out an iPhone 10, but the more you start to engage with your audience and people start following you and you really want to make a bigger and better engagement, one thing you need to do is have these things called giveaways. So it could be simply anything. So if you are a fashion blogger, you could give them an invitee or a pass to one of the greatest shows. Or if you're a foodie, you could give out vouchers for food. And this is to engage yourself and the audience. So you give something back as well while you receive their love, comments, and follows. Okay. So we've all heard of this song back in 2014. And one thing we've noticed on Instagram is not everyone wants to see your face 24/7. So taking a selfie is fine, maybe once in a blue moon, but not all the time. Unless, of course, your account is dedicated to just, your face. And I mean, we all have nice smiles and great pictures to post, but we need to create that it needs to have some sense of order. It shouldn't always be about yourself, unless, of course, you're following a bunch of narcissists. Moving on, spreading the love. So just as much as you wake up every day in the morning or post a post and you expect everyone to like it and, talk about it, people expect the same from you. So give back. Scroll through, like the pictures you actually like, comment, say nice things. Obviously, it's not like an order I'm asking you to, but if you really think it's something great, you can definitely give out, you could say something nice. And people like that. We crave attention. We crave for nice comments and stuff. So might as well as do that. And collaborations. So now assume you've gotten to the point of you've reached like about 1,000 followers or so, and you really want to make it to the next level, but you don't know what to do. So what you do is you could collaborate with a few influencers in the country. You could talk to them, decide, I'll give you my product. You test it and you give me your honest opinion, and you start working as you collaborate with each other. Or if you are a blogger, you do the same with the products and services. Therefore, both parties benefits from this, and you guys can create a much bigger engagement. And stories. So Instagram created stories for a reason. We had Snapchat, we had Facebook stories, and I think the one thing that's really popular right now are Instagram stories. So in here, you really don't have to work so hard to make your story seem so cool. Because what people want to see here is the side that we don't really see on your feed. Your feed might look all pretty and, really fancy, but your story it actually tells who you are. It speaks for yourself, your personality, what kind of a person you are, what you do, what you eat. But that doesn't necessarily mean you put everything out there. This isn't a reality TV show. Tags. So if you really want people to actually follow you and notice your picture, I think one thing that's necessary is if you are wearing something of a particular brand that is on Instagram, or if you are doing something that's quite, I don't know, that has a page on Instagram, you can actually tag that on your picture. Because the moment you tag these pages, people can actually find your post when they go on those pages as well. Right. So all this seems fine until you come to making your business profile. So how many of you guys with a raise of hand knows what a business profile is on Instagram? Okay, so not many. So most of you might have been doing what I've mentioned so far, and you still wonder why, how can you keep track of what's exactly happening? How do you know how many people are seeing your post? You get it that 100 people liked your picture, but how many people actually saw it? How many people engaged? So that's when the business aspect of Instagram comes. So this is where you convert your normal profile, convert it to a business profile, which would then give you insights. It will show you how many followers you've gathered for the past few weeks, how many impressions you made, your insights, and etc. So, for an example, impressions is how many times someone, how many accounts actually seen your post. A reach is the number of unique accounts that's seen your post. So in impressions, you could have that one person that kept reopening your picture again and again, but in reach, all these 29,000 accounts are unique. And the engagement is what's important here. Because no matter how many followers you have, if you don't get the level of engagement, the number of likes, the shares, the comments, it really doesn't matter. That people are not really concerned about your post or your product. Okay, right. So moving on, despite all of this, one thing you need to know about the business profile is your account needs to be public. You could do everything. You could tag the entire, I don't know, you can tag everybody, put all the hashtags, but if your account's not public, no one's going to know who you are, what you're doing, nothing. It will just be you and the people who follow you and you follow back. And one more thing that's important is you can't simply go home today, take a really nice picture after dinner, post it, and then wake up next morning thinking you're an instant celebrity. It doesn't work that way. You don't become someone, or you don't become really famous or popular in terms of Instagram overnight. It doesn't happen that way. And more importantly, you don't go around. So there's a lot of accounts on Instagram, a lot of people who would like, the fast track in life. And purchasing followers is something that takes place a lot. You see people with 40,000 followers and about 40 likes per picture. That doesn't really add up. The math doesn't work. So you really need to make sure that you don't purchase your followers. You don't cheat your clients, your customers. You don't cheat yourself. And secondly, content and engagement matters. You could have 1,000 followers and you could still collaborate and do so many great things compared to someone with 100,000 followers, because the content you offer actually reaches the audience and people actually like what you're posting. Another thing about Instagram is a lot of businesses in Sri Lanka tend to use it as a tool. And I think they're really smart, because most of our target audience now are always online. They're constantly online searching for what to eat, to what to dress, what to purchase. No one's really into the whole print media industry anymore, no offense. And they're really into knowing everything that's online, right? So an example being, when it comes to the food industry, I'm pretty sure how many of you guys have heard of Bix by Bella? That's it? Okay. Well, Bix by Bella is one of the biggest cafes in Colombo. And she started off with Instagram. She decided, when she was a home baker, to start selling her product through the platform Instagram. And now, within the few years that she has come up with, from the time she started home baking to opening her first cafe, and finally the one you get down Alfred House Avenue, she's mustered up 40,000 followers. And with these 40,000 followers, do you really think she needs to go and, I don't know, find print media or put it on TV or anything to get her customers? No, because you also create brand loyalty and you connect with your customers through Instagram. So for instance, you do post something on the paper, you would probably, someone might see the paper and come and get your product, but you don't really know how you could speak to them later. How do you get their feedback if you weren't present in the store to greet them? You could do this through Instagram. You could actually, Instagram, Facebook, whatever the social media that you're actually using, you can actually interact with them, figure out what exactly went wrong, and then they start posting pictures of what they had and the products they used, and then it's really like a cycle of life that happens in Instagram. And the best part about it is really, you really don't need to put much effort into it. So, yeah. So finally, I would like to say that if you guys are really looking forward to building your name on Instagram and making yourself like a much bigger person and entering society as you weren't who you were 2 years ago, you have to say goodbye to your private life. And at the same time as you muster as many followers on your profile, you also are responsible to making or breaking the audience. Because depending on what you post, people are actually going to follow you because they look up to you as an influencer. And if you say something or do something, they might think it's the right thing or not. So always use the platform to stay humble and to preach something that's actually good, stand up for good causes. And as you say goodbye to your private life, it also means walking in public. It could be a bit difficult considering how people could be like, oh my God, wasn't that you on Instagram? Can I have a picture? Or I really like what you're doing. So don't freak out and start running away. Just stand and smile, as scary as that seems. And so that's pretty much how I would like to end my speech today. So this is just like, the fame hits you. And I mean, obviously we're not walking the red carpet, but you do get what I'm trying to say. You're walking the road and people come see you, and yeah, so that's pretty much it. And I hope you guys got something out of what I had to say, and thank you.
Hey guys, any questions, anyone?
Hi. So basically, I want to know. So the business aspect of it. No, you showed the reaches and all that stuff. Was that paid for? If you did pay, what's the pricing? Is it expensive? Is it cheap? Yeah.
Right. So what I showed you was basically not a paid promotion. It's possibly an account that had about 40,000 to 60,000 followers. But when it comes to paid promotions, usually the promotions are paid for by the company itself. So for example, if you have collaborated with a brand that sells jewelry, that brand would pay for your promotions, and promotions are not really that expensive. You get to decide for how long you wish the promotion to run. You get to wish the amount you wish to spend and the number of audience that you wishes to reach. So that's how it works.
Anyone else?
Before you mentioned impressions, reach, engagement, stuff like that, are there any other important metrics that you use as a blogger?
Not necessarily. I personally got to know about business profiles around 6 to 8 months ago. And whatever I did was what I mentioned previously, from the hashtags to the tags to the public profile was what I used. And impressions, insights were you see, the impressions, insights, and engagement just shows you your final result of your post. It doesn't necessarily, it also shows you where you stand on Instagram in terms of that post and what you yourself can do to make it better. It's not something where Instagram says, you know, you need to do this, do that. It just shows you like a final result on how many people has seen the post.
Yeah. How do you build up a feed, like especially when you're in the business aspect of it? How do you really build up a feed? Like when you're going to show someone your feed, I mean, that's how you collaborate with brands as well, yeah? So in your knowledge, how do you build up a feed like that?
Okay, so building up feeds differ from which industry you're trying to approach it. So me being a personal blogger, people follow me because they want to know what I'm up to, what I'm actually eating, what's up there for reviews and stuff. So if it's a business brand that you're trying to build up, I think what's important is you promote your products. You take some really, I don't know, invest in a good photographer, get some really nice shots, and then you start making your own grid. Because when you scroll through Instagram, you'll see that there are you see it in like square formats. So creating that, you create some sort of lifestyle, like a brand within it. So when you follow it, for example, you use a particular type of filter, you use a particular type of quote, you use a certain type of background when you take the picture, which eventually builds up that feed. So it's not something you can come up overnight. You need to keep posting every day or weekly and then create the grid by yourself, and then you would see the end result.
Anyone else? No.
Yeah, so my question is, what do you think are the current trends in terms of the audience of Instagram? Like, for example, do you think people are using Instagram more? What do you think, how has Facebook dropped? And also, do you think every product or every industry works with Instagram? Do you think Instagram works for every industry? And how do you analyze your audiences?
Right. So when I went through my insights of my Instagram account, I noticed that 39% of my audience are females and 61% are males. So there's a massive, so you find, and the age group that you find within that is 16 to 29 years old. So you actually gather the young adults and the adolescents in the society, right? So I think brands that need to focus on through Instagram is clothing, jewelry, perfumes, anyone who can actually afford their product and they believe that the target audience is on Instagram. So that's how I think it should work.
Just to add to that question, like region-wise, so is it just Colombo? I mean, are you getting like organic reach from like other parts of Colombo, other parts of Sri Lanka? How is that?
Unfortunately, Instagram doesn't work that way. It just covers the main areas. So if you're trying to look at the countries and cities that are following you, it's usually Colombo, or it could the three cities that come up from Sri Lanka is Colombo, Galle, and Kandy. They don't really cover anything else in other parts of the region, but it's mostly a more Colombo-based crowd or a Kandy, Galle-based crowd that they follow.